Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the Japanese J1N1 sitting at 2.0 battle rating. This is a fantastic heavy fighter at the early tiers. She can do a lot, she is very versatile, she is quite decent in the maneuverability and the performance. And this might be one of the best heavy fighters in the early tiers that there is in the game right now. We will go into comparisons a little bit later with some of the other heavy fighters, interceptors that are in the game at this rank. But first, let's go into the flight performance and the stats for the J1N1 first. The maximum speed in this plane without WEP at sea level is 454 kilometers an hour without WEP and 471 with WEP. At 4500 meters, she'll go up to 402 without WEP and 414 with WEP. And finally, at 6500 meters, they'll go up to 364 without WEP and 368 with WEP. This is indicated airspeed without mech, just so you know which one we use. I have always both speeds visible, but indicated airspeed is way more important when you're making maneuvers on the higher altitudes. So yeah, I use that. The top speed in a dive is 677 before she redlines and 740 before she rips apart. Now that's quite good at 2.0. The speed in general is very good. It's a fast plane, especially in down tiers. She'll pretty much outspeed anything. Even single engine fighters will be outsped at that battle rating 1.0, 1.3. She's faster than most. And well, in the up tiers, of course, she's not faster than most anymore. But the weakness is definitely, the speed is definitely not a weakness. That is good. In a dive, like I said, that is also pretty good, although there is definitely contenders in up tiers that are faster than this plane in the dive. But control stiffening in a twin engine fighter is often a little bit less good, especially in the roll rate. Is that true for this one? The control stiffening in a dive starts off with a big tick at 450 kilometers an hour and a second one following quickly at 550. After that, this plane really doesn't roll anymore very well in the dive, and it does still have the elevator, it does pull out, but maneuvers and getting guns on target will be hard starting from around 450. So yeah, you've got to be aware of that. That is definitely not an effective dive speed, 740 for the plane. Stall speed in the plane lies at 130, which is quite good for a heavy fighter. And she is definitely good in the vertical. That is nice, with also a great climb rate and a good energy retention in the vertical. Really making this plane good in stall maneuvers, even if you consider that she's a heavy fighter. Compared to most single engine fighters, she will do very well in the vertical. Of course, you don't want to, match her up against the BF-109 E1. Which also sits at one of our 2.0 battle rating. That is one of the better planes in the vertical. But yeah, there's a few other examples for the single engine fighters that are better than this thing in the vertical. But in general, you can easily make vertical maneuvers in this plane and be successful with it. You just got to keep an eye out if you're against one of these excelling planes in the vertical or not. And if you are, you may want to rethink it once or twice before you give up your energy to that maneuver. The firepower in the plane is good. He has one 20mm Type 99 Model 2 cannon with 60 rounds per gun. And to add to that, he has two 7.7 Type 99 machine guns with 600 rounds per gun, which is very good. Ammo load there. She also has a turret with four 7.7 Type 97 machine guns with 750 rounds for the guns. And those are two turrets with two 7.7s each. So yeah, all controlled by one gunner. That's a nice set of 7.7s there in the back, but they only point upwards, they cannot dip, so you have to be in a certain position to make those work. But yeah, the overall firepower is good, and I would say the ammo load for the cannons is average. You have more planes with 90 rounds for the 20 millimeters and 100 rounds at this battle rating. This one only has 60, like many of the cannons that exist for 1.0 or 1.3 planes. There's often 60 rounds there. This one has only 60 rounds there as well. The machine gun ammo load is very good, because 500 is the average, which I consider quite good, and so 600 is very good for the 7.7s. On the turrets it's 750, that's a nice ammo load for turrets. Acceleration in a straight line is very good, and there's also very good in a dive. So very good acceleration, and she has good energy retention both in the horizontal and the vertical. She has two engines giving her a lot of horsepower, but she is a big plane, of course, so she also has a lot of drag, but still the energy retention in the horizontal is good, and in the vertical, as I said, it is also surprisingly good, making this plane the ideal boom and zoomer with which you start to make stall maneuvers. She's really nice at that, and she can net you great results even with the only 60 rounds for the cannon. The machine gun ammo will pull you through, but that leaves you with just two 7.7. So, and that firepower at 2.0 isn't too great, especially not in an up tier. The climb rate does support the performance of this plane with a great climb rate. Really nice weight to the power to weight ratio for the plane is good, and she does want to climb very nicely. The turn time in the plane is decent and good with flaps. The flaps rip off at about 500 kilometers an hour, and that is actually quite nice. In a straight line you can't rip the flaps off really. It needs to be in a dive, and when you get into the dive it can rip off quite quickly. So you've got to be aware that once you go into the dive you just raise your flaps again. And only when you go up again and you lose some speed, you'll deploy them again. The roll rate in the plane is bad though. She's a big plane, and yeah, the roll rate suffers there. Not one of the good things in the plane, but you don't need it if you use a boom and zoom flight style. You don't really need a fantastic roll rate. It would be nicer if it would be a little bit better, but it's definitely workable. It's one of the downsides of the plane. It's just the life. You work with advantages and you try to minimize the problems you have with the disadvantages of each plane. And roll rate definitely is one of the disadvantages. So make sure that you set up your shots correctly. Make sure you don't have to roll too much. Make sure you don't lose too much speed with that rolling and maneuvering to get a shot. Go back up and just reset, try again, and you can outplay the players, even if you're flying alone, like I'm showing here. In this match I was alone. I was also one of the only players left against 6 or something. Now I definitely don't kill them all this time, but a lot crash in the meantime, also because of damage that I did to them. And I just keep pushing them down. I don't get lured into going too low or something. No, I'm trying to push them down. I am trying to keep my altitude and trying to work my way down, as you will see. And this plane is very good at that. As I said, power to weight ratio, the climb rate, vertical energy, all that stuff really helps you to be able to keep a dominant position over these guys. And it makes it a very fun plane to fly with and to feel like a dominator. It's always nice to dominate the skies, even when you're left all alone and your team has been destroyed. Now it's fantastic and even more nice if you can kill every single one of them. But yeah, we are going to try to turn this around. Oh yeah, that's always fun. There you go. Nice fire. Anyway, where were we? Well, we were at the roll rate. So yeah, that is one of the downsides in the plane. Maneuverability overall is above average. And for a heavy fighter like this, a twin engine fighter, it is quite good. The overheating in the plane is bad. It overheats quite quickly and definitely needs attention. You don't want to be in the amber when you start a dogfight, let's say that, because you want to use your web when you go up and stuff like that to keep your speed up. But yeah, no, overheating is not so nice. Durability in the plane is good, but it is susceptible to fires, just like all early Japanese planes. It is very susceptible to fires, and yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. But, well, again, you have to work around it, you have to accept it, and just make sure you don't get hit too much. But that's something you always try to do, right? The plane can always equip some bombs as well. Not too many loads actually. It's just one load. You have 2 times 60 kilograms as the load, and you can take that with you if you want. But I don't know why you would want to do that, as you want to use this plane as a boom and zoomer, and if you use the bombs, you will climb less well. So yeah, it's not going to be practical. It's also not going to be practical to take those bombs, drop them off, and then go fight, because well, you don't start with your altitude advantage, and that's something you want. I mean, the plane gets an air start, it's an interceptor, and you want to keep that advantage. She climbs great, so there's nothing to impede your climbing there for a reason that you might take the bombs and stay low or something. No, you just want to take this plane up and go high. So yeah, those bombs are not an option, but maybe when you are stock, maybe you want to do that then. I don't know, just to grind through the modifications a little bit faster. So, compared to other heavy fighters, this plane is quite good. For the Germans, you have the DOS, which are basically gunships that can't do anything else. They can't maneuver really well. You gotta just rely on the many guns that they have. I find this plane far superior to those planes when it comes to maneuverability and all-right enjoyment, because there's much more you can do with these planes than the DOS, for example. The Italians, for example, have the Breda 88 at around this battle rating, which is a much lighter plane, smaller plane, less guns on the plane. She's decently maneuverable, but this plane is just much better, I feel. You have the Potasses for the French, which are also quite nice in maneuverability. Actually, maybe better than this one even. But this plane is way better in the performance, in the energy retention, in the acceleration, especially in the vertical. Yeah. Also in a dive, it has more reach. So all in all, I like this plane better again. A true contender for this plane, for the interceptor fighter, heavy fighter role, is the Yak-2 Cup from the Soviets. They have a very nice plane on their hands. They're very comparable to this plane. Better firepower, better ammo load, quite maneuverable as well. So I quite like the Yak-2 Cup as well, but it is 2.3 battle rating, so it has a slightly higher battle rating than this plane. But yeah, those two are quite comparable. I cannot really make a decision between those two, which one I like the best. But yeah, overall, if you look through all the trees, then this J1N1 is absolutely, at its battle rating, one of the two, I think, best heavy fighters out there. And of course there's planes around it. I mean, the Kai 45, which comes after this plane in this tree, is also fantastic, but it is 2.3. It has a higher battle rating, and there's more comparison that are either slightly lower or slightly higher, but this plane is definitely one of the few best in the top 3 for me, and it's one of the first 2 for me actually. And the only competitor really that I like just as much and I can't make a decision with is the Yak-2 Cup, but or cab, or however you want to say that, I don't know, but that plane I like a lot as well. Of course, when you compare this plane to the single engine fighters, there's a lot of comparisons that can't be made because this is just a bigger plane, but in the energy retention and in the performance as a boom and zoomer, he can compare to a lot of planes, and there's only a few single engine fighters like the BF-109 E1 that can definitely outtake this plane easily in the vertical, and you got to be careful there. But yeah, there's only a few, and for the rest he does very well. Of course, at the end of the dive, this plane does lock up, so you have compression. And there's a lot of single engine fighters that have way less compression than this plane, especially in the roll rate, making it easier for those planes to outmaneuver you when you go into the dive. So you don't want to go into long dives with the plane, but you don't have to do that with this climb rate. You can just keep it short booms and go back up with a zoom. If you miss or if you damage the plane, that's good. You push them down. They probably sometimes go back to the airfield. You've seen me do that a few times here, and you've seen me hold a superior position in general. Now it's difficult to keep that at all time. It doesn't always work, so I had to make a few compromises here. For the second time I get my engine damage. That's a bit luck as well, bit lucky here and there. But the plane does have two engines, and you can't take her back to the airfield, especially when you go into a dive. The plane is fast enough to outrun an I-16 in a dive. That's easy, man, in this plane. And if people are then dumb and stay low, and you can approach them like this after you come back from the airfield, well, take advantage of that. People are often impatient, and there's not a lot of people that stay low. It's just the way it is. It's not a lot of people that stay high. I mean, I'm talking out of my ass. Yeah, so there's not a lot of people that have the patience to fly around the airfield, in front of the airfield, keep an eye on the dot and watch when you take off and see where you go, and then come and dive on you. That's what I usually do. That's what most experienced pilot mostly do, but not everybody is that, and you can take advantage then. But yeah, all in all, I like this plane. It's a fantastic interceptor. It is, as I said, one of the best two heavy fighters at its battle rating for me, and yes, he's a joy to fly. Japan has a whole line of quite decent heavy fighters. Not many nations have that, but the Japanese liked these kind of planes, and I like to fly them. Definitely do. He almost feels like a single engine fighter. But yeah, so I didn't kill them all, but I did turn that match around from the brink of disaster. Let's take a look at the scoreboard with the 5 kills. We've got quite a few rewards there. We've got Final Blow, Survivor, the Best Squad, Terror of the Sky, and On Hand. 46,000 Silver Lions and almost 4,000 research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. This is a fantastic interceptor, fantastic heavy fighter. Gets the air spawn all interceptors get. True contender as a boom and zoomer with good energy retention, very good acceleration, nice 20mm cannon. Only 60 rounds though, so you gotta be aware that you don't want to have your trigger happiness on. Constrain yourself. I sometimes have trouble with that myself when I get enthusiastic. But when you're in discipline and you practice good trigger patience, you will make those 60 rounds count. And it's a good cannon. She gets good output. Climb rate is great. Fantastic. As I said, one of the 2 best heavy fighters, interceptors at this battle rating. I can definitely recommend her highly. It's a joy to fly, great stall maneuvers, and it looks neat and sleek as well. So what more could you want? Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment. And if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.